Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone. We're here in Amsterdam and we've got PDC Chief Exec Matt Poor. Matt, it's been a while since we've done one. First of all, how's things?
Good, thank you. Yeah, busy summer, but yeah, all good.
Look, let's jump straight in. The news broke yesterday. The 2026 calendar is out. I know we've just spoken off camera there. I can imagine the nightmare that is to put together, but you must be delighted with the biggest calendar that we've seen in darts.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why it took a little bit longer than we normally like to announce it in August. We've gone into early September, but in all honesty, I think it was worth waiting for. It's a heck of a job putting it together. Great effort by everybody on our side, everybody at PDC Europe, and our partners around the world to coordinate, because with all the travel challenges and frankly the lack of available days, it's a real mission. But no, it's come out well, and hopefully it's a mouth-watering year in store.
An extra Euro Tour, 2 new countries. How exciting is that? And first of all, Poland, is that the explosion that we've seen with the 3 World Series events? Is that the next progression to take ranked darts there?
Yeah, I think so. The Polish crowd have proven over the last 3 years that there's an appetite there. The standard of local talent has proven that there's justification there. So it's a natural step. Slovakia coming on board too is exciting. A country not many of us perhaps know too much about in a darts context, but they've got a lot. They've got a lot of things they'll want to prove. I think we talked about it a few years ago. Yourself, maybe some others were saying, is the ideal utopia of the European Tour to have X number of events in X number of countries, one event per country. And I don't think that's realistic, but I think the fact that we've gone to 9 countries now, the days when people just used to make throwaway comments, it's just a German tour with a few other events thrown around it. And you have to get it off the ground somehow. There's still always going to be the primary demand for darts in Central Europe is still always going to come out of Germany because it's such a powerhouse of a country. But you can see the demand from other countries now, and there's plenty of others we're talking to as well.
Well, that was the next thing. That obviously this shows that 2 new countries, that the progression is there for other countries to come and get involved in this.
100%. Yeah, I'm somewhere else next Monday. We've got 2 or 3 conversations ongoing at the moment with our partners at PDC Europe about potential new opportunities, and you can see where players are coming from, where broadcast interest is coming from, where social media hits are coming from, and all of those factors contribute to showing us where the demand in darts lies.
Changing the Premier League as well. Exeter, first time since 2009 that leaves the calendar. Antwerp in. First of all, how hard is it, and what is the thought process to leaving a venue at an established venue as well?
It's never an easy decision to drop a venue from the Premier League, particularly with Exeter, I have to say, because there's nothing in that part of the country. Now, in all honesty, there aren't many venues in that part of the country, so it's not as if we're leaving a load of places unused. But you do have to make difficult decisions sometimes. This is a commercial decision. The growth of darts in Belgium over the last few years has been explosive. I think Belgium deserves a Premier League night. I think the AFAS Dome in Antwerp will be a wonderful venue for it. It's hard luck on Exeter. It's one of the smaller venues. It always generates a great atmosphere, but we just had to make a decision that on this occasion it wouldn't make the cut. That's not to say it won't do in the future, but not at the moment.
It's quite a dated venue as well. Does that pay into it as well? Not just the capacity, but the venue capability, shall we say, as well?
Look, I'm not going to sit here and make individual comments about venues. Clearly, everybody knows what certain venues are like, But what I will say is they've always looked after us very well at Exeter. We've always had an excellent response from fans locally. The atmosphere's always been great. So that really wasn't a determining factor in the decision. It did come down, in the end to commercials.
The challenge now, Cardiff to Minehead, the slog for obviously not just players but staff and everything as well.
It's not too bad, I think you can get a boat just across the estuary. But no, look, joking apart, that journey isn't too bad. None of the players would be expecting to play on a Friday morning. So I think that's a journey that could be deemed to be acceptable.
And how excited are you to go to Antwerp, like we've just said there, because we've seen what's happened here in the Netherlands, Germany, and the Euro Tours in Belgium.
We saw first time we went to Rotterdam, then first time we went to Berlin. Even back first time we went to Dublin. When you go to a new country with Premier League darts, the anticipation, the excitement, the media interest, all of that's there in bucket loads. So there's no reason why Antwerp will be any different.
Does this also pave a way to get more Premier League nights in Europe going forward? I'm not saying next year or anything like that, but it shows that it can happen, like we say, that we perhaps could see one in Poland if the Euro tours go well over the next 5 years.
It has to be a justifiable decision. Don't forget, the Premier League's a one-night show. So to get everybody and everything that's involved with the Premier League to that show, particularly if it's around either a Euro Tour, Players' Championship events or whatever, there's a lot of infrastructure goes into Premier League darts. So it's not necessarily something where we're going to say, like with the Euro Tour, where we were saying, could we have 15 events in 15 countries? We're not going to have 17 Premier League nights in 17 different countries.
That I understand.
I think where we are at the moment now, we've obviously got the UK and Ireland boxed off. Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, the three major Central European countries for darts have each got a night now. I think that's probably pretty good for a few years.
Was there ever a thought to go up to 36, 37, 38 Pro Tours, or was 34 a comfortable number for you guys?
34 is a comfortable number. The calendar is jammed, absolutely jammed. I don't think at 34 anybody could say that they're shortchanged. So no, 34 is a number we're comfortable with. Is
that kind of like the calendar as it is now at bursting point, that to fit anything else in is almost impossible?
Yeah, I mean the gaps that have been left mainly for World Series events, which that announcement won't be too long off. There isn't room for a lot more. We've spent a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat and tears over the last 2 decades building our calendar.
Yeah.
Building it to a point where it's recognisable, where events are identifiable with cities or times of the year or whatever. And I think we're at that point now. We've got a lot of demand for darts at the level it's at the moment. I don't think putting another 5, 6, 7 events in is going to increase the demand. I think it's just going to shift the demand from one area to another. So I wouldn't say we're at breaking point, but I think we're right on capacity where we are now.
Yeah, it's an interesting bit on the World Series. I remember we sat here last year when we did this, and you were hopeful of new countries, and you were talking to Asia. Without spoiling it, are we going to get new countries in 2026?
I think there'll be at least one. Yeah, we've still got ongoing conversations. These events are extraordinarily difficult to put together without just saying, right, we're going to just go and spend X million pounds on an event and it doesn't matter what happens. And actually, if that's the way to do an event, there's no point doing it, because if you're going to somewhere where you've got to spend that much money and you've got no broadcast interest, no fan interest, no sponsor interest, then you're going to put a dead event on anyway. So unless the money's going to be generated locally to justify the event, then they don't warrant doing. We've got ongoing conversations with places in North America, places in Southeast Asia, places in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, the Far East, everywhere. Everywhere's interested. But then people come to you and they say, well, let's do a World Series event. So, okay, let's talk about it. What venue are you thinking? When in the year suits for you? Oh, well, we'd like to do it in March. Okay, we can't do it in March because we've got Premier League darts.
Yeah.
And we say, why don't you do it in July? And they go, well, we can't do it in July because everyone's on holiday. So we go, oh, right, well, we've got a spare weekend in July. And then these conversations work their way through, and everything takes a long time. But we'll get there.
Would I be right in saying that we're not going to get the Dutch Darts Masters this year because of Toto, and they're not being allowed to sponsor it like they did?
We haven't crossed it off. But it's obviously an event where its future is under review. Yeah.
On the World Series as a whole, as we're here doing the World Series finals, how has this year's World Series compared to others, numbers-wise and everything like that? Obviously, because I know you guys crunched the data and everything. How has this year's compared to others?
I think the big pluses for me this year were, if you look at Bahrain, the crowd numbers were up. If you look at Copenhagen, the crowd numbers were up. If you look at Australia and New Zealand in particular, the crowd numbers were hugely up. New York, the numbers were hugely up. The Dutch event sold out. It was only a small venue. It sold out anyway. Polish event stayed at the same kind of level, but that was fine because it was a good level. But we're definitely seeing now people in those countries come into events because they're aware the event's coming to their town, not necessarily because they're darts people who follow darts all year round. They're like, all right, it's August, it's the darts, it's coming to Auckland, or it's June, I can go to New York and watch the darts. We're seeing that now. The data shows us that we're getting people in, repeat buyers, we're getting people from out of town, and that's I think it's a real positive, because it will take that. it's a conversion process from someone becoming interested in darts to somebody then buying a ticket for an event and then rebooking. It works the other way around with darts. A lot of the time people go to watch sports that they've played. With darts, people often go to watch it first and then start playing it afterwards. You know, a lot of new people who've come into darts over the last few years have never really thrown a dart, maybe at a fairground or once in a pub or something like that. But they've never been, I never played in a pub team or I never played in a league. That just didn't happen. But now they're interested in darts. Now they're taking up playing. Whereas with a lot of other sports, it's the other way around. It might be something they played as a kid or something they play socially. So that's been quite interesting to see how that's evolved in various countries.
I'm not sure what your numbers say, but certainly looking at our numbers, the New York World Series seems to get more interest than all the others. The others have been okay, but the razzmatazz around New York seems to
New
eclipse
York's a glamour
everything
city,
else.
isn't it? New York's a glamour city. America's a big market.
Yeah.
I think being at Madison Square Garden just puts you on a different level. You know, I think that probably is why.
Whilst we're talking about darts down under, you seem to have a new partnership with the ADA that seemed to come from kind of nowhere. Just has happened. What's going on from like your point of view with darts down under? Have you got two partnerships, or is it just going to be one going forward?
No, look, I think at the moment it's a case of trying to get domestic darts in Australia back to the level it maybe was at a decade or so ago. You know, however that comes about. And there's been a lot of reasons why it may have tailed off, and I'm not pointing the finger of blame at anybody or you know, pointing at any specific reason. It's just sometimes these things happen. So an opportunity presented itself with a partner promoter down there for the Australian Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, and those conversations led on. Sorry, Australian and New Zealand Premier League. That was a bad mistake of mine. But the conversations went on.
Yeah.
And you know, there's now like a new opportunity for domestic players. We know that there's a talent pool down there.
Yeah.
And we know that there's an appetite for those players to commit, because we've seen that in the past. Whitlock, Anderson, bless him, you know, Heta, even Cadby for a short period of time. You know, they've committed Halpai Puha and they've come over. Yeah. You know, so we know that there's an appetite for that. It's just really harnessing that and presenting those opportunities.
Yeah, no, like you say, some of the talent that we've had there has been incredible. Obviously going to rename the Kyle Anderson Trophy as well to keep his memory going, which was a great touch, because what he sacrificed and what he did for the sport in such a short space of time, I don't think can ever be forgotten.
No, that's right. And he was such a great guy. There wasn't a person in the world of darts who didn't like Kyle Anderson, you know, and he's still missed. So I think it's important for us to keep his flame burning when we go down there.
World Championship, the 4 extra days, 8 extra sessions you put on didn't seem to make a dent in those.
I think it could have been 80 extra sessions, couldn't it? You know, no, it flew out, you know, which is great because it just shows that people love visiting Ali Pali at Christmas. So no, that was encouraging, and people are excited by the expanded format, excited by the increased prize fund. Who's going to be the first £1 million dart player? You know, so it's going to be exciting.
Does this give you a real headache though? Because I remember speaking to you and Barry that you were both hopeful that the 4 extra days, 8 extra sessions would curve it and give you a little bit longer to get plans, but obviously clearly that hasn't. The desire is there. That
it is, and the long-term strategy has always been to review, you know, the overall capacity of the event anyway. It's the biggest event in the sport, and also it's one of the biggest events in sport. You know, let's be honest, you know, how many multi-day events are staged in the UK that are bigger than the World Darts Championship? Wimbledon, the Open,
maybe Cheltenham.
Cheltenham. But
there's not.
But that's a different mentality. That's more of almost like a mini holiday for people, isn't it? You know, but no one can argue. It dominates Christmas.
100%.
It dominates Christmas, and I think a lot of people would say their Christmas wouldn't be the same if Ali Pali wasn't on their telly or a night out for them. You know, so we have to keep servicing that demand. You know, the demand is, as I said, insatiable from fans, from media, broadcasters, not just here but around the world. I'm not just in the UK, but around the world. So we've got to do everything we can do to maximise that event.
From a business point of view, and I'm just again looking in. Surely, we must be on the verge of moving this just because of, like you say, pure demand. And look, I love Ali Pali. The pilgrimage is something else. But when you're seeing the demand of people that can't get tickets that room, there is that. There's also that.
that X factor of the ticket, isn't there? You don't want the tickets to be really easy to get.
No, I get both sides of it, yeah.
So you do have to balance it. And also, let's be fair, we think we're fair with ticket prices.
I agree.
People criticise us for a lot of things. Not many people come to us and say, your tickets are a rip-off, which is something we're really, really conscious of. And I get this, we get a lot of pushback from people saying, you could charge more for your tickets. Yeah, we could, but why? Why would we do that? Our fans are great.
Yeah.
And they're loyal to us, and we want to be loyal to them back. So we will put prices up, of course we will, because cost of living increases and expenses increases, and all these things have to be taken into consideration. So when we put them up fairly, and we put them up at the right time.
If it were to leave Alexandra Palace, would it be fair to say staying in London would be a priority? Because London at Christmas seems to have that captured everything.
Yeah, that would be fair to say, yeah.
Have you looked at any other venues or anything like that away from Ali Pali yet?
We'll always consider options, and options present themselves to us all the time.
I can imagine.
It wouldn't be fair of me to comment on specifics.
But the actual tournament itself now is filling up nicely, and you must be. I know we've still got loads of tournaments to go, but you can't wait to see that first game at Ali Pali, 128 players kicking off the new Sky deal and the real shift going into 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the start of a really exciting time for us all. As you say, with the prize money going up, the calendar being set in place, new countries on the horizon. It's a cliche, and I don't want to be associated with cliches, but there probably has never been a better time for darts or to be a dart player. So, bring it on.
No, I completely agree. Just going back to that, I forgot when we're talking about the World Series, the US market going to Peacock. Have you seen a massive uptake in viewing numbers since that switch to Peacock? Because I obviously know the power of Peacock through watching wrestling and the huge move that was. We did see,
we obviously got an initial level of viewership. The advantage we will have with Peacock is that they show Premier League football.
Yeah.
And our demographic research shows that a darts fan in America is 13 times more likely to watch Premier League football than a fan of another sport in America, like a major American sport or whatever. So if they're going to Peacock already to watch Premier League football, the fact that the darts is there should, in theory, convert itself into viewers.
Yeah.
Peacock have got obviously a part of the NBC family, so there's the opportunity then for some exposure across NBC in time. And we just want to get more eyeballs. I think in America, everyone knows what darts is. I don't think they all know what the PDC is. Yeah. So it's our job to educate them on that front.
I understand that. That's cool. There's been quite a lot of clamour through broadcasters, fans and everything about the PDC ranking system in terms of titles and what means what, and we've had so much talk around the Triple Crown.
No, we haven't. No. A small number of people have invented a phrase called the Triple Crown. So
I agree, but also your two arguably biggest stars at the moment in Luke and Luke have also bought into this because they're the two.
Of course they have. Then what?
But they brought it up. First of all, are we at a point now where the sport needs to perhaps say, right, these three titles are bigger than the ones underneath?
Why?
I'm looking at other sports and you get excited about golf because these four.
That's all from 100 years ago.
I get that, but for me as a fan as well, I'd like to see them categorised, and I think a lot of fans.
But all you do by categorising some events at one level is relegate other events.
Yes, to a point, but
so you look at it through our eyes, right? So if we said events A, B, C, and D were at that level, what does that say about events E, F, G, and H?
That they're still good, but these
they're still good,
but these three.
So we're then going to go and sell those events, and we're going to go, hey guys, this event's still good, but it's not going to work.
I get that, but then you've got three tier.
This narrative is great. It keeps you all busy.
Yeah,
right? It keeps all your threads that you've all got way more time than me to look at. Keeps you all busy. Gives you all something to talk about over a pint. Blah blah blah. If you look at our new prize money structure, there are categories of events within that structure. It's not very difficult to work that out when you look at those events. We're not going to start chucking things in buckets because you chuck something in a high bucket, it means you've got to have something in a low bucket. And we're not going to do that to some of our events.
Is there a Triple Crown though? But quietly, in the PDC office, is there talk of a Triple Crown in the office?
If we had a swear jar in our bucket in our office, then that would be on one of the words of the list of one of the words. Not one of us ever sits in the office and goes, let's call it this.
I like it though, but it must be good in a way because it does get fans talking and the engagement on social media around the Triple Crown is huge.
You change your logo to be the same colour as ours to get people talking.
Hand on heart, I was gutted. I'd been planning that for weeks.
Yeah, of course you had.
No, genuinely, I had. I'll show you the WhatsApp messages. I'd done that weeks ago, and I was like, they'd done it. I was like, oh god, this looks awful now.
Typical.
Honestly,
look, when people are not talking about darts, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So this is good. All the conversation's good. All the opinions are good. Like it, hate it, agree with it, disagree with it. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thread, and I'm fully behind the Triple Crown, by the way. I love it.
You crack on. You crack on.
New deals and so on. The ITV deal is obviously, we know, is up in its current form at the end of the year. Are we close to a new deal, whoever it is being announced?
End of this month we should have something ready to announce, it's only really the summer that's delayed it. The summer's difficult because people go on holidays and inconvenient things like that, and it slows everything down. But by the end of this month, end of September, we should have something ready to announce.
I'm guessing staying on free to air.
Yes, correct,
Also, the Butlins deal is up at the end of this year. Has that already been renegotiated, or is that in the process?
That's in the process. We want to stay at Butlins. It's a great venue.
No one thought you wanted to move back. You know what it's like when everyone sees the...
No, the fans love it there. We love going there. So, we'll get it done.
This year's match play was incredible, off the scale. People's calling it the best match play ever. For some reason, there's just something about the Winter Gardens that never disappoints. And every year you think it can't get any better, and it does. And I remember you saying that numbers were through the roof and so on. Again, I don't want it to ever leave the match play, but commercially, will there be a point where the match play outgrows the Winter Gardens?
I hope not.
I'm with you as well, but just the way we see it growing and everything.
No, I mean, I think there's some events that are in a phase of their lifespan where they are growing, and I think there's some events that are in a phase of their lifespan where they are established. And once something's established, then are you moving it for the right reasons if you move it? The World Match Play is so synonymous with Blackpool, and that beautiful room is part of it.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, it's never been a conversation. I've been doing this job since whenever it was, 2007. I don't think we've ever had a conversation about taking the World Match Play anywhere else. It's another one of your social media chats, Phil.
What's that? Yeah.
That's it. That's where all these conversations emerge.
With the TV deal that you're going to announce, obviously we know that it's going to come. Production is going to come in-house. That's the thing. When you release the deal, you're going to release things like the talent team and things like that. 'Cause I remember when Eddie moved to DAZN,
not at the same time.
He released everything at the same time.
No, I don't think so. Not at the same time. We probably would want to keep everybody in suspense a bit and drip feed it.
Also, again, because I love boxing, so I listen to what Eddie and Frank say about boxing numbers and stuff like that, and they brought up a good point about moving their main events to 9:30 to catch peak audience and so on. And I noticed this when the two European Premier Leagues, where we started at 6 and 7, and for us, numbers were so much better at those times. Is that something that you're looking at going forward? Is moving just an hour forward? So
I think 7 p.m. is the right start time. But don't forget, we have 4-hour sessions. A lot of boxing is centred around the main event, which will only be an hour long, walk on to the bell or whatever. So 7 o'clock, I think, is the optimal start time. Sometimes we will get scheduling requests from a broadcaster, say Sky, for example, who will say we've got X major event and it's going to finish at 7:45. So if you started at 8, you could be on main event.
Yeah.
Well, if you're on Sky and you're on main event, your viewing figures are on a different level to what they are on 407 or whatever the other channel is. So often we'll do that as best we can. I would say 8 o'clock until midnight isn't ideal. If it's a semi-final or a final, it's a 2 or 3 hour session. 8 o'clock till 10, 8 o'clock till 11 is okay.
Yeah.
I don't like it when we start later. We started later than 8 o'clock once. I think we started at 8:30, and it was a bit of a mistake, and we didn't like it. So it would have to be a really exceptional reason to start that late. And likewise, to start too much earlier, you've got to give people a chance to get home from work, chill out for a bit, have some dinner, get rid of the kids, whatever they need to do. Yeah. Or, some people will be saying, well, the kids want to watch it. Well, that's, I get that. And it's difficult.
That was my
little boy wants to watch it, and it's hard. So he wants to watch, his favourite players, and they're on at 10:30 at night, and he can't. So he has to either watch them on YouTube the next day, or wait till they're playing an afternoon session, which is not very often. So it's difficult.
Well, that I was going to say, because obviously look, the eyes that Luke has brought in this younger audience and so on, then we're seeing the demographics. When Luke's involved, it is a much younger demographic.
Yeah.
Take a Premier League night, for instance, when they're in the UK, finals going on 10:40, 10:45, where they're not going to get to see that because of school. So, and we noticed that the two, Berlin and Rotterdam, it was like the spike of the younger age because they were still up. So it's just interesting to see the.
No, it's a challenge. I don't think you can satisfy both audiences if I mean, in reality, our audience is still predominantly an adult audience. They still want to sit on the sofa after work and chill out and watch the darts. We want more and more kids being involved, but that's what second screens are for. That's what YouTube's for. That's what social media's for. Yeah. They can catch up on it. And actually, the attention span of kids, as much as they say they want to watch Luke Littler, do they want to watch Luke Littler in a best of 35? Or do they want to watch 5 minutes highlights of Luke Littler in a best of 35? Because not all of them will want to watch the whole game from start to finish.
But that you kind of beat me to it there, because that's what's coming on to next. After the
like with the logo colour?
After the success of the Bring Back the Winmore World Masters format, is there a temptation or a thought process to bring back the old News of the World format, that blistering quick fire thing, just the success and the nostalgia?
No. This goes back to what I said before about number of events. Listen, we're not building a calendar now, are we? We're refining a calendar.
I don't wonder if one of the other events could be tweaked, so to speak, to...
Best of three. I don't think best of three suits the modern agenda. I just think it's too much of a lottery for elite sport. It's like saying it's like saying Premier League football first goal wins, or a 2-over cricket match. Mind you, they're nearly there. I was going to say, what's the other? Or 4-hole golf round or something like that. I think the best of three is too thick. It doesn't appeal to me.
There's a lot of talk at the moment around the top 16 and so on. Do you think we're going to get to a place where the top 16 could be guaranteed to be in everything? I'm talking about the ranked majors, so to speak, that they're top 16 in the world and they've earned that right to be in everything. Is that something that we could see going forward?
Careful, haven't you? I mean, the top 16 are in most things anyway. You've got to be careful that if you do that and they just stay the same top 16 forever, then it becomes boring. So I know we get accused of protectionism, but we still feel that we've got enough open doors for players outside the top 16 to come into it. So, I think that would be considered a little bit too far.
Yeah, well, I think the race for mine is interesting that the top 3 in the world are all potentially in danger of not being there.
That's the balancing act, isn't it? Because, rightly so, if you're a top player, you can't play in 34 players championship events throughout the year. So, the swings and roundabouts, or the decision is, do you go early? Do you try and play in like the first 6 or 8 and get your money in early and then you can pick and choose? But of course, if you do that and you don't get the money in, then you're chasing. Yeah. And then you start to panic, and then you've missed a couple because it's the holidays, and then you're playing catch up. So it's a real difficult one, But I do think with having 34 events throughout the year, everybody has enough opportunity to qualify for Minehead.
People have asked PDC TV.
Yeah.
Is it possible or doable to have archive footage on there, like the WWE universe, where you go in and see other stuff and old classic games? People have asked.
We tend to use YouTube for a lot of our archive, which is free, obviously free for people to watch. But we are relaunching PDC TV. We're relaunching our website. We're relaunching our app. It's all going to come under one big ecosystem, and that will be either back end of this year or the start of next year. It'll be a much improved product, new providers, and it'll be I think an exciting destination for darts fans.
Again, I know I love wrestling and whatever, and the storytelling recently has been superb. And like you say, capturing that casual audience, is that something darts can learn from wrestling, UFC, boxing, about creating narrative? I'm not talking about on the board, that stays pure, but creating stories and making fans care about players off. Is that something that is that the next step that darts needs to take?
I challenge our media team a lot to tell the stories of players. Look, everybody knows the Luke Littler story. People know the Luke Humphries story, the Michael van Gerwen story. But now do people know the Josh Rock story, or the Jan van Veen story, or the Martin Schindler story, or the Ross Smith story? What other stories out there are there for us to tell? To get these players into the consciousness of the public, because people who are, perhaps not necessarily the headline makers at the moment might be the headline makers of tomorrow. So it's better for us if people know who they are, and that's important. You know, long form content. There's still a place for long form content on our platforms, and we've had some really well produced stuff over the last few years. Obviously, the demand for disposable content on a daily basis. You know, minute of this, 30 seconds of that, top 5 of this, greatest moments of that, blah blah blah. That's the way the world is now. But I think we need to get players aware of the need for themselves to become brands.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I watched Scott Williams' interview with TalkSport the other day. They did 20 questions with Scott Williams in a pub, and Scott is a little bit Marmite. You know, I actually think fair play to him. I think he's quite an articulate bloke. I think he's got personality.
I love him as a player.
And I think he's got a profile on the stage. And as he says, he doesn't care if you like him or hate him. He just wants to be on the stage, and that's great. So it's like, as a player, he knows what his brand is.
Yeah.
He knows he's not Luke Littler, but he also knows he's not a pub player either.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, if you're a player just outside that top bracket, what can you do to build your brand to a level where people know who you are? Like Stephen Bunting's done a really good job on social media.
Yeah.
You know, really good job on being relatable to people on the street. So what's your point of differentiation? Why are you interesting to people? You know, and if we can help you bring that story out and we can tell that story to people, then if you ever are ready to go to that next level and become a Premier League player or a trophy winner, then already you're a step ahead of where you could have otherwise been.
I agree. I'm going to pitch this to you. People like you wouldn't pitch it to me, and I'm going to. This goes about telling stories and creating narratives and creating drama before they get on the hockey. The Premier League, obviously, week 9 and 16, we know that one plays 8 and so on. Could we spin it and create some drama and some narrative instead of doing it that way? That on the Friday, whether it's on your YouTube channel, Sky Sports or whatever, whoever's top
picks who wants to play. I knew you were going to say
who they want to play.
I mean, it'd be amazing drama, wouldn't it? Maybe.
But then there's context like, why are you picking him?
Yeah.
And why? And then
I mean, it blows up in your face when he beats you 6-0.
Correct. And then the next week, when it goes wrong, you're creating drama and so on. But you're keeping the sport pure. But you're creating a story and a narrative to build to that.
From a purely storytelling perspective, that's a great idea. I don't know. Would you think the players would go for it?
I think they'd have to buy into it. Buy into it. Like you look at it, like Littler, and I'm just using it because we've run the numbers. Luke, who are you picking? I'm not picking Bunting because he's bottom. He could either go, I want Michael, or I'm going Aspinall because I always beat him, and vice versa.
Okay,
if it was Aspinall's pick, he goes Dobie because he's in my pocket, and so on.
Between now and the end of the year, when you interview a player who you think will or might be in the Premier League, ask them what they think of that idea, and I'll watch the answers, and then we'll see where we go.
Matt, it's a pleasure catching up with you as always, mate. Thank you for your time, and much appreciated.
Thanks a lot.
To change your